everybody has a cell phone or other kind of sounding device that vibrates. Thank you. And one again, St. Louis District Board of Election meeting September 4th, 2013 at 9:30 p.m. is now called to order. In the absence of our secretary, Mr. Webster, would like to ask Member Raymond Williams to call the roll of records, please.
Adolfo Tembraya.
Here.
Roland Molinar.
The excuse is out by the
Lisa Harris Moorhead.
Here.
Liliana Gallardo Del Lee.
Here.
Rupert Ross Jr.
Here.
Ray Webster. Absent. And that's it. 5 members present, 1 absent, 1 excused.
Yes, there's you.
Thank you. We have a quorum, so before we move forward, I would like to ask those present here to put their name on the record as the representative agency. Please.
Marvin Forth with VI Action Group.
Anybody else?
Krista Schlitterman, VI Action Group. Evelyn Gospel, concerned citizen.
Scott Lambert, concerned citizen.
Phyllis Nielsen.
Anybody from the media? You want to get a name to this? Go to the record and see. Anybody from the news, Stoke. That gentleman, I source, I don't remember his name. The time we know that he was in. I'd like to, first of all, thank all of the individuals who attend the meeting. We have a quorum, those of you who are in the audience. You have the opportunity at the end of the meeting to ask questions and make comments. We would like to go to the introduction of the members to start out the election system. Johnson case just after the sequence of change. We can go from the introduction of the election system, old business, to new business, to the introduction of our supervising election, which is currently passed, who will officially and board of supervisor of election. Well, we have for introduction and stuff. We will ask you to give us a brief report or as much as you need time to make a report to the board thus far. The floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Before we go to new business, I'd like to just state for the record, since under old business, it continues to indicate that no report was been submitted by the past joint chairman or chairman of the St. Croix District Board. I'd like to go on record as stating that no written report has been submitted.
So my please clear phone number, please. You want to state no written report
Have been submitted.
No written report have been submitted.
That's correct.
Basically, that's what this is about. It says no report from past supervisor election and past chairman and chairman of the District Board. And I haven't seen them, and I haven't received no bill for that issue back and forth. So until I get something in written, I can respond to something about it. So I would have a tendency to say, I didn't say it that way, I didn't understand
But
it.
I'm not going to, the record should state, however, that an oral report was given at the first meeting.
I don't recall that oral.
Well, I gave a report on some of the outstanding obligations of the district chair concerning cancellations, concerning precinct designations, etc., etc. There are 5 items I reported on.
So, Mr. Ross, to save some time, are you willing now to put that what you're saying again?
The answer is no. I
Okay.
said then that I would
Okay,
not
but-
produce it to write it, and I give an oral report.
We'll move on.
Thank you.
Let's move it.
Just a housekeeping matter, so I won't appear. I have an 11:30 appointment, so if we run that late,
No problem.
I'll be leaving at about 11:15.
Once we have 4 of us able, we can continue.
No, I just.
When the time comes,
For the record, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
I have a flight this afternoon, so I would need to leave on or about 11:30.
no problem. So who have to leave, will have to leave because of this afternoon or previous appointment. I don't have no problem. We just continue discussion after there is no quorum. But we can move forward if we just adjust what we have here before. Any other concern? Mr. Williams, Neil? Mr. Fox, proceed.
Okay, I'd like to say good morning to the board members and District Chair. This is my first official meeting, so I want to thank all of you for your support. Look forward to working with you. I know the board, my supervisors and the employees work with me and for me. Today my inspirational quote is, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it goes through to achieve that beauty." And right now the election system is going through some daunting changes, but have no fear, we will come out looking like a butterfly go better. Managers are all different, so we need to encourage all to not compare and contrast each other, take the best practices from the past and move forward. I've spoken with all former members of the election board system, some I've known for years. Timing is everything. We are embarking on a new fiscal year in October. We have an audit report as a platform to propel from and new leadership. So be patient with us as we all learn and grow. Old business, since this is my first meeting, I have no old business, and a copy of my outline was attached to each. Some of the highlights I'd like to discuss on a new business, the deputy. Of course, I have my recommendations ready for the district's boards, and hopefully they'll be submitted, or the joint board will meet in September to look at those. I plan to attend all district board meetings, whether in St. Thomas or St. Croix. Again, the leadership will have a learning curve, but we plan to adapt quickly. I held my first staff meeting with the St. Croix staff yesterday, and it went well. Look forward to setting a date with the St. Thomas employees because a lot of them are on leave at this time. I plan to spend a week out of each month in St. Thomas. So again, if you call here and they say I'm not in the office, you'll reach me somewhere in St. Thomas. For the past 2 weeks, I've met with many governmental agencies. I've met with the Department of Division of Personnel. I've spoken to Commissioner Maduro. I've spoken to Mr. Jerris Brown. And I've spoken to Judge Wilma Lewis. And all these agencies, in fact, they approached me, but all these agencies interact with the election system. So we're trying to get some of the reports and the processes back online, also including the Department of Health. The next agencies on my list are Finance and O&B. Again, if the election system is to progress, we need all entities to communicate and work together and support each other. Big thing, documentation is the key to success. And with my background, it's all about documentation. The 4 entities are asked to meet with Ms. Wells. She's going to set a date this week, reference the response to the audit report from the governor. Because OMB sent us a suspense at the 9th. Of course, if a suspense is the 16th, you have to back it up so the report get in by the 16th. So right now, it's the district chairs, the joint chair, and myself scheduling to meet whether this week or next week in St. Thomas. My assessment of the St. Croix facility, we're going to have some upgrading and relocation to get our facilities up to par, not to compare with St. Thomas, but the facilities need to be up to par as a professional and a good working environment, reference OSHA, etc. Some of our long-term goals with VTC, looking at a VTC for both entities. We already got the cost estimate and we're working with BIT to get those. Computers, most of our computers are old.
Military training, what do you use after?
Sorry,
VTC.
video teleconferencing equipment. So sorry for that. We're also looking at a van, so I'll share that with the board members after. And our furnishing, again, we need a conference room to accommodate 14 members. Because the joint board is 14 members, so that's our long-term goal. Highlights of the election conference. The conference was approved by Ms. Wells on the 27th of July. It was held in Savannah, Georgia. I took the history class, so that was good, elections history, gave me a foundation to build from. I also received the Presidential Commission report on elections, and that was eye-opening. Right now, there's still vacancies on the commission because the Republicans have not submitted their two nominees, so the commission really is not fully operational at this time. Another area was the professional exhibits. I had an opportunity to try and test the DS200, and I tried it out, and based on all the information, exactly what's being put out there, the information, the system works, but we do have to give some educational, put out some educational awareness to all the citizens of the Virgin Islands. I also attended the federal laws for newly appointed election official, voting system sustainability, and I also met with various supervisors in the election network. So we don't have to start from scratch and reinvent the wheel. Operational report thus far, what we did for the month. For registration, we registered 111 persons. For cancellations, we sent out 3,309 cancellations. We are finalizing that report, and it should come to the board by your October meeting. And we had 7 duplicates. That's folks that lost their voters card and had to come back for a duplicate. Financial report attached to the back, and I'll go over it highlighted. I lump sum the personal and fringe benefits. Again, that's not a big problem for the board. Right now, we expended 78%, and that's the pay for Ms. Johnson. Other supplies, you had $643. You expended none thus far. For travel, you had $7,000 allotted. You encumbered $1,755. That means it's in reserve, and you have $5,245 available. Thus far, you spent 25% of your budget. Bulk tickets, unlike others, you didn't get an allotment in there, but it's allowed. So you did an expenditure, and it comes over to available balance. So we will roll it up and take it out to the balance because we have a lump sum budget. So right now, St. Croix, you expended 84% of your budget. We have until 30 September to expend balance. So whatever requirements you have, you need to get it into our office as soon as you can. And in the future, we have a plan that we could back it up to at least by 30 August. You know what all you want to spend, and we could get it done. The goal is to spend 100% of the funds. Because if you don't, the next year you continue to get less and less and less. Chain of command, not chain of command, but authority for folks. Again, the joint board is in charge for the media, etc. Then the district board, then the supervisor. So my concern is folks are sending a request. If you send a request to the district board and you didn't get it resolved, it goes up to the joint board. It doesn't come down to the supervisor. If you have an issue and you start with the supervisor and I don't resolve it, then you go up to the district board and then the joint board. So again, we want to enforce that. Another point I need to enforce is my name is Caroline F. Fox. I'm not Carolyn. I'm not Caroline Adams Fox. My name is Caroline F. Fox. Please correct that media. Board members training, especially the new ones. You know, you could give the district chair a date when you like a board member training. I have something prepared for about 2 hours. Off time, weekend, evenings. Again, especially for the new ones, some of them will ask for some training. So prepared when you're ready. Give me your dates. Organizational shirts. You have an event coming up in September. The Joint Chair is going to discuss with you all National Voters Registration Day. I'm going to try to celebrate it this year. It's September 24th. So again, we're going to need to get shirts, organizational shirts for those who don't have, especially again in new board members. You have 3 choices of colors. You need to submit that to me. And for the new folks, you need to go to Clothesline, which is in Castle Copley, and try on the shirts because every shirt size run different. You just need the size, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to report back to us. You don't need to give them a color because again, we select the color and go from there. You need to do that as soon as possible because the date is the 24th of September. So once the board, joint chair meet next week, we'll get more information on that. Action items for the board, I try to remind you, I know we are busy, but we need to start looking at policies for the DS200. Like I said, the board set policies, and timing is everything. So you might think you have a year, but the clock is ticking. So we all need to start to get together and work on whatever policies. Again, network with states that have policies that have implemented this system. And again, Senator Malone, Senate President, is mentioned in the first week of October. He's looking for a full committee and whole to discuss the reforms that we submitted. So again, prepare for that, those that are involved. And that's the end of my report. Any questions or anything you want me to add to the report in the future, I will. I'm open. Questions from the audience will be at the end.
The copy, Mrs. Fox?
Yes, when you say you have a question.
Williams?
No, sir.
Thank you for the report, anyway, Mr. Williams.
I would recommend to you that you spend more time in this than 1 week a month, number one. This will turn audit by the governor, which audit by
No, not audit. You want a response. The governor wants a response to the same audit by the 9th of September.
Which the audit that we just signed for. That's this is
OMB,
which
OMB,
this is the
IG,
federal government audit or the local government.
federal government.
And then
So I get for the joint chair what we do, because I'm getting conflicting information. The joint chair will decide who will respond to, who is our chain.
and then you saw the budget information. That's for the balance of this fiscal year.
Yes, 1 month, September 30th. Yeah, I want to spend that money.
And then on the board member training, we had some conversations in the past about hosting and you know, you and I have discussed this before as well. Instead of trying to have a training for just new members, that we do a global board activity that will give you know, we can share both historical and new information. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, we'll put that on the list, but again, we're waiting for that and money.
Yeah.
I know there's some concerns, so we need to get those new ones that they don't want crying out for the training. So I got both on the list and I'll put it up there for the joint chair.
And then my last comment is you spoke on the approval for travel by the joint board chair. That is something that I not necessarily pertaining to, but I want to bring up, Mr. Chair, about the overall approval of travel for board members to travel at any point in time. You know, I need to get clarity because what I know, what I understand to be the course of action is there has to be a consensus from the district board for any member to travel. The chairman or vice chair or any member of the executive team doesn't unilaterally have the authorization to grant that type of travel. I noticed that has been something that took place in the past, and so at some point in time, that's something I want us to discuss. But those are the questions I actually have.
Well, they'll discuss it, and again, they'll put it in administrative SOP, because a lot of stuff discussed, but if it's not in writing, then folks can continue to do so. Again, that's a good start, and that's some of the stuff in the audit report documentation. So that's some of the stuff we need to put in policy. They had a meeting, and it's well said for the supervisor. I informed her 14 members don't have to approve my travel. They'll be made aware of it, but they don't really approve it. So we had that discussion. So that's why I mentioned my process.
Right.
Anything else?
Mr. Ross, Mr. Moyer, Mr. Neal. Well, again, Supervisor mentioned Fox. I would like to comment here for the report in detail. But I have a concern that was raised by William. I take a letter from the Inspector General Private Office, asks each individual to respond to them. I don't see no one in the original law that we must send a report to the governor or anybody else. We must send it exactly to who they are. We can't allow to send our response to the governor. He takes our response and sends it to them as if he knows what he will do something with it. We need to respond to what they're asking us about. And I would ask the board members, if you're not going to respond to the letter at all, or respond at all, you don't have to. But if you respond, you can individually send your response directly to Mr. Cryer, because he was the one that sent the information to us that I shared now for everyone to have, rather than saying to the governor. And I don't want us to get caught up in sending our report or respond to the governor. He should respond from his side with his budget director, himself, and the Commissioner of Finance. Our reporting from independent agency members should go directly to Mr. Pryor or the ESC or the Inspector General Office. I don't think that even if the government made a request or somebody made a request, we have to oblige them with our information. The report goes basically the individual submitted to the record. Well, we hear Mr. Williams, you got yours, right?
I just got it, yes.
Mr. Ross, you got yours?
I did.
Mrs. Moore?
Yeah,
So basically, all the members currently on board have their,
Except
correct?
Mr. Molina.
Except for someone, well, he's our pilot. So. And on the trust, I don't have no problem with the recommendations of Mr. Williams, because as he said in the past, following the trend of the past, if it wasn't proper, then we need to correct it. So I don't have no problem with that. So when the time comes, yes, sir.
No, finish it.
So when the time comes in the future for us to travel, since some of us have already traveled already, following the pattern, at the appropriate time we can probably have a motion to approve those that happened in the past and move on to certain policies like Mrs. Fassett mentioned. I don't have no problem with that. So at least we will know where we're going, where we're going, where we're coming from. And in addition to that, when we come back, we should actually tell the other members in a debriefing fashion what we experienced, what we did here, who we spoke to, who we went, and what else we did. So at the appropriate time, I will be prepared to mention what I was and why I did what I did. And I would members, because our registration was kind of late since we were not sure about the funding and who was going in the last place to the Savannah and the election system conference. So nonetheless, we can address that among ourselves here and see what is setting a policy here on after. If there's a need for a motion, that's not a problem with me. So anybody can make that motion, then we do that henceforth. Basically, that's why I have mentioned about those two points already on Mrs. Fox. But in addition to we mentioned about things that we need to do, we need to make it very clear. This board is planning to go ahead with our schedule of the demonstration of the machine. So we've been here today, already selected 27 sites for location, including the legislature. And I think the members of the committee, Mrs. O'Neill, Mr. Webster, and Mr. Mullen and myself, and the demonstration. We have this training coming up again with the staff and the board members when Ms. Alexia come back here and we do all of that. So we are in line and we need to go ahead with our program that we established for the board, along with policy, with the use of the S200, and we can move from there. And I think we have committee already for that anyway. So thank you. And any further questions or Mr. Ross?
Yeah, I have a question. To my knowledge, you, Member Wells, and Member Wellington received a copy of this report.
Yes, sir.
Was it given, submitted to any other officials of this government, to your knowledge? Was the Commissioner of Finance given a copy of the report?
I am
think
sure,
they did because the message came from OMB says it.
if they made reference to finance and OMB and the governor will have a copy of this same report with an address letter to them. So the letter was addressed on the election board system side to myself, Mr. Wells, and Mr. Wattis as chair and joint board chairman. So I took it to be sensible and reasonable, not for I to have the report and pretend I don't have it and I don't know what's in the report, but in fact you have the opportunity to respond according to what is mentioned in the report. That is why we gave the copy of the report to Mr. Abrams, to Mrs. Fox, to give to Mr. Abramson, and to Ms. Plaskett, our members, and Mr. Weber, to include all the members of the St. Clair board. So all of those individuals who are in position of employment and operation will have knowledge of what is written to respond or don't respond accordingly. But I don't know, and I haven't seen the letter to the governor or the budget director, because he has his cabinet to get information from as far as it relates to finances, harbor monies, and his authorization.
So I guess the answer is that yes, they may have copies of the report from the system, but you don't know if...
Well, I won't say yes, except that there's no way that he could ask us to respond to him if he didn't see something.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I know
that's why I'm asking the
question.
Yes, sir. Okay. The second comment has to do, we're talking about the issue raised by Member Williams concerning the law, our law, on title section 4, I think it is, basically says that no decision concerning an official act of this board can be done unless the board meet an act. So it's not as if we could do it outside, anything done outside of that condition is a violation of the existing law.
When you say you're speaking about what Mr. Williams just mentioned?
Well, in reference to the fact that authorizations or...
What section you relating to, sir? Section 4, Title 18, Chapter 1?
That's good.
What?
Title 18. Give me a second, let me get to the exact.
Another person say something.
Go ahead, that's fine.
Because for what Mr. Williams mentioned, that members traveling must have a board approval of the full board meeting to travel. I don't want to own whether me or anybody should just take out and don't have authorization from the board. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I just wanted, well, I understand that we don't. But there was reference to the fact that we need to establish it as a matter of policy. I'm just basically saying that it's a matter of law, that any decisions that are official of this board has to be done in the presence of a regular meeting, with a quorum being present and a vote being taken. If we vote to travel, we vote to travel. If we vote not to travel, we vote not to travel. But it has to be done in a meeting such as this, at either level, whether it's joint board or district board.
No problem. So he was just citing the law that we comply with the law. That's what he said. He knew the law is there, passed, we were not doing that. So he's saying from here on after, we follow the law and vote on it. I have no problem with that. So when you finally get cited, but if it's there, it's there. I have no dispute with that. Yes, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chair, the report that we just received, some of us anyway, I was reading the first sentence of it speaks to, or the second paragraph, about the written comment, and I guess through the chair to the supervisor, you're referring that our response is due to the governor's office. Based on what, this just reading this first statement and taking it verbatim, the response, is it in your thought process or your mindset that this response or comment is supposed to be a joint, a district board or a joint board related response? Or I know you mentioned anybody individually, but I think that's collusion. So I'm wondering if the fact that we just received it, they want a response by the 16th. If we need to either at some other date, because there's no way we can digest this and discuss it today, but maybe prior to this date, I think we need to probably meet an executive session, since it's a confidential document, to discuss it and come up with a response if necessary based on the district board. I don't know if that has to be done in the joint board as well. Because I've never, well, not never, but this is first time that I'm seeing a request for comment. So I'm just asking the question, what direction you're thinking of moving in.
Well, my preference would be in the Williams that each individual would read the document, put their response on their own knowledge and expertise to respond to the content. For I to get discussion on what each person can write of their response to the information that I don't know or don't have access to be more of a collusion of putting something together to represent the whole group, when in fact each individual can respond according to what they can respond to and find. I can't be responsible for what any member here is going to put in writing. But any individual can respond and things like a PDF or something like that, or you don't respond at all. If you don't read by the deadline, then you would go ahead and issue the final report. That's how I look at what I would do. I don't want the board jointly to send a report with something that I can't put as a report. Each individual should be able to sign what they know and follow it to some correct agency.
But a point of information, can each individual who is going to respond, I am not going to respond because I wasn't involved in those years, but if everyone here responds, they will bring it to you and you will attach yours to Mr. whatever his name is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if the members here vote to send it to the package, I can send it. But I'm still saying the avenue is open to each individual member of the board to send it directly to Mr. Fred. If you bring it to me, I can only put it in a package as you submit it with your signature and with my signature or Ms. Fox's signature, but I'm not going to amend, include, or delete anything that anybody put in the report. That's how I would look at responding to what I know, as opposed to signing on everybody's thing and saying it is ours. It is ours on the board, except that each member would write what they want to respond or don't write, and if we don't get all the members' response, then they would say, well, Board Brian didn't respond, but we move ahead anyway and issue a final report. But if everybody here decide, the majority say, well, each of us will do our own response, and we will have it sent as a package of the Secretary Board of Election from Ms. Plaskett, Mr. Abramson, Mr. Weber, all of those responses with their signatures will be on those reports, and not my signature with everybody. So, but I don't feel that I or anybody here should send our response to the government. He's not the agency to set down the things for us. We are the one that they ask to respond. So he can't respond for us. He will have to respond for himself, the budget director, and the Commissioner of Finance, or any other executive employee, even the Attorney General. Because I've seen response, I'm sure Mr. Williams himself has seen them, where the Attorney General have respond, we will comply, agree, disagree, and we'll write something and comment in the contrary to what the report says. They do that all the time. But I can't contradict what they write unless I know about it. The AG will write or comment. The government say concur, we address enough, we have a time to comply, we will change that. They will conform or deny those things, and I can't conform or deny anything for any member here, as opposed to the governor can't conform or deny anything we said. And he's not here anymore. That's how I look at it. Any other discussion?
Well, basically, the principle, I agree with the position, Mr. Chair. The reference I was making to, for those who are interested, is on page 200 of the code, under section 41, subsection H.
What's the page again?
200. And the pertinent information says no official action may be taken by the board unless at a regular meeting or a meeting called by the chairman or by members of the board at which a quorum is present by affirmative vote of the majority of its members present. So any action that we decide that we want to take, changing the meeting location, buying a new car, traveling, anything that we want to do, basically should be done in the presence of a quorum.
No problem. It would be nice if you read the whole section on Title 18, Chapter 3, subsection 41, because it starts off, it says the quorum of each board shall be a majority of its members.
Okay.
And it says no. I'm saying this has been there since 1990, and today I just said no. I don't have a problem with it.
No, no, this has been the operational policy of the board since I've been on it. Boards have to meet, make a decision as to how we wish to proceed.
We don't know how to affect it. Because I have been to a lot of meetings here, and we travel, and I never been to a voting time, but we can move on now, problem.
I've heard that said, but that's not necessarily true.
So you need to fix the issue.
Yeah.
You see how we have an issue, and we need to fix the issue.
is clear.
Yeah, it's clear. It's been from 1990. I don't have a problem with it. So we can move on now.
The issue is, no, that's not the issue. The issue is you travel, and we need to clear that up for this meeting, because I'm saying, I have funds to approve or disapprove, and so you're leaving me to decide. So that's the issue. Can you travel, and everybody's trying to go around and around. You travel in August, so we need to figure out, you had 5 members here, but again, they didn't vote. So we need to fix that by voting. They had 5 members here, and then there was discussed.
It was discussed.
So I don't be the one having to hold a bill that somebody brings in here and we can't process it, and then Ms. Johnson get blamed for not processing the bill because we, the board, didn't do what we're supposed to do. So how do we fix this issue?
All we need to do is have a motion.
August, they had a budget meeting. Each budget meeting they had here, they had a quorum. It was discussed that it was going on issue. Ms. Mohead wanted to go, Ms. Bernardo, Molina, 5 of them were here. 2 times for the budget briefing. But again, it was discussed, never voted on.
Right.
And then there was never money to send us the new members, so we didn't travel.
So
I don't want the
that's-
public to think that we travel.
But
I
know
know Webster and I did not
what
travel.
you suggested is what I know, but the meetings are,
You know, they had 2 meetings on the budget and it was discussed. Right, Ms. Mohead? But it wasn't voted on. So we need to fix it.
Well, if you're
September
committed to
30th,
my
money
motion,
here.
I think we're very fine.
You good?
Yeah.
So he's authorized to travel? He's authorized to get reimbursed? That's my
If you
concern.
want an official action, you need.
That's what I'm saying.
Make a motion.
We need an official
I
action.
move that we approve the previous travel of the board chair to Savannah, Georgia, what was it?
And New York.
I'm New York to go to the elections meeting. So I'm saying is that we were here, and when Ms. Johnson was here, she told us she wanted to make sure there was funding to travel. And it was the last minute that they didn't have it approved, that I had to get the money in order to pay for my registration, and I gave it to Ms. Johnson. That's how we got the process started. The other members didn't have available funds at the time to pay advance, so I went ahead and did all what I had to do. So if that's the issue, we just compare with the last 70 lobbying, and we were not aware that we had to do that. This, because I have been to meetings from 2011, and we were never arguing over the board voting to go anyway, so we could pass that, and we can comply until they hear. I don't have a problem with that, you know.
That's not a
But I think
factual
there's a
statement for
motion
the
on the
record.
floor, wasn't there?
There's no motion.
There's no motion.
Yes?
There's no motion.
Who's second?
There's no motion, no. Let's come
Somebody
with more.
seconded it.
Well, I was going to second it.
Let's get going, we'll start a clock out.
There was a motion on the floor, was seconded by Ms. O'Neill. Mr. Williams?
What was the motion?
My motion was to approve the travel to Savannah. I didn't know
For whom?
for the only person who traveled.
Mrs. Fox,
Chair.
No, she don't approve mine.
She paid for her
I
own,
was-
she paid for her own line.
And for the record, this applies
Not
for official action of the board as it relates to board functions, not the supervisor. The supervisor does not have to seek approval of the board to
I know
expend
that, I was just saying
funds.
she was here.
Okay, I know, I just want to make a distinction. If the supervisor travel, that's on the supervisor's dime. When we travel on our budget, and therefore we have to make that decision prior to the.
Here's a question.
We need a roll call.
I need to get some clarification. So is it that even though I continued my travel through the same route, I wasted my money to go to meet with the officials in the next
I
meeting?
didn't say any of that. I didn't know about your travel to
Okay.
New York, so I can't make a motion about something I don't know.
Well, I know now.
Somebody else wants to make that
So is
motion.
there a way we can get an amendment to include all the travel?
Somebody amend it.
I amend the motion to include all the travel as long as it's official board of election. I so move.
Do I hear a second? Well,
I can second the motion.
move and second, then Mr. Ross.
The motion is, the amendment to the motion.
We move amendment to a motion. Thank you.
Let me just. Okay, roll call. We're voting on the amendment to the motion. That is to include all official travel. So roll call is, Madaba Gray,
Yeah.
Roland Molinar, absent, Lisa Harris Moore,
Yes.
Member Belardo,
Yes.
Member Ross,
Yeah.
Glenn Webster, absent, Rena Williams, no. 4 yeas, 1 no, 2 absent. So that amendment passes.
Motion as amended.
Motion as amended, and that is to include payment for the chairman of the board for all travels in August. You will give me the dates.
From August 12 to the 20th. I've already received, so that's no problem.
So, give me the dates again.
The 12th we left here, and I think back on the 20th.
Roll call, Adele Barry,
Yeah.
Roland Molinar, absent, Lisa Harris Moore,
Yeah.
Member Liliana Belardo, Leonie,
Yes.
Member Rupert Ross,
Abstain.
Member Glenn Webster absent. Rena Williams, no. 3 yeas, 1 no, 1 abstain, and 2 absent.
Motion carries. And for the record, I just want to, when it's my opportunity to basically brief where and what is accomplished. You know, we have a lot of discussion over voter registration, ability to overseas voters, in compliance with the board election. We have Guardians abroad, families outside. We have new machines. I met with the people from New York down in the Broad Street election system, where we discuss what kind of machine they're using the GS to what they're using here for the general election. So basically that's what my time was in appearing before a group of Virgin Islanders living abroad in New York to explain what we're doing as a board and this to provide their families in the military, voters opportunity, and registration and compliance with the Help America Vote Act. So basically, that is briefly what was going on in this. I wasn't there for the day, but they broke it, so. I was here back over it, so. I just want to make sure that I am in compliance with the statute, so. If it's there, if the body has said no, they want to take a thing from because I can't spend on the real that. So, I think it's clear that.
I'd like to address an issue for the record.
Yes, sir.
That's come out of this.
Well,
Your statement that no authorization was granted in 2011. I'd like for the record to go on record as reminding you and informing new members of the board that in 2011 the board decided that for the purpose of travel to Accra and election center conferences, that each member of the board could only go to one of them. Some of you went to Atlantic City, others went to San Antonio that year. The following year, 2012, the board decided that they were going to forego travel and use the money to pay for the services of an attorney. So the record should reflect that the board made a decision prior to the people traveling in 2011 and made a decision not to allow travel in 2012.
You know, Mr. Ross, we had more time telling we just trying semantics because I was at the board meetings and I was in St. Thomas, the joint board meeting for the joint board on the right district board to pay for the services of Mr. King. And what's his name? He came in and the meeting we discussed who was going to Atlantic City. I was at Atlantic City. I was not in San Antonio myself and Mr. Moed and Mr. Williams and the intergovernmental committee was in Atlantic City. Carmen. Anita Governor was there. Anita, that was her. And we were there. So that I wasn't in San Antonio and I am saying I do not recall being present at any meeting. But that is history now, so we could move on from there.
I know, but the history is not your history alone, it's also my history.
So you're giving your story, you're giving mine.
No, I'm putting my position on the record. The board approved the travel in 2011. The district board. Your position is did not. And I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just putting mine on the record.
Same thing. That is your story, this is
No,
my story.
well, the record would show. The record would show the truth. And I'm saying what I know the record to be.
Well, since I have received a record in the past, then I can't refute what I'm saying. That's your story, my story. Let's move on, we can waste time.
Well, no, we're not going to waste time as we distort the record.
Oh, man. So who distorted the record, me or you?
I am putting mine on the record.
But that's what I did, Mr. Ross. Hey,
Guys, let's get back to this.
let's take the agenda. We first with Ms. Fox, Mr. Rowland. Ms. Mohed, you first with Mrs. Fox, Mr. Ross, everybody. Now, the ADA complaint report, I think the last time we were here, we signed off on it, but Mr. Webster is not here today. He's out here, so we can address that as we speak here today. But I think Mrs. Fox made a recommendation of findings and what we need to do to be ADA compliant in this property next door here. And what we need to look into, discuss it again. They have the budget for fiscal year 2014 on the 28th of August. I appeared there with Ms. O'Neill, Mr. Watkins appeared for the district board, Ms. Alicia was the joint chairman, did not appear. She had no record or report read into the record, but nobody really presented this election system budget, except they were trying to require Mrs. Fox to respond to a document that was not prepared by her. The thing was really foolish and tricky that the young lady who didn't have no access to any information to put in a budget should be the one asked to respond to those things. I think we spent a lot of time discussing other issues of the machine, the funding we need to have, since we're coming to a new big election in 2014, the primary, and we informed the Senator's President about the requirement for the laws to be changed as it relates to the consent decree and funding. So basically that's what it was. And I left a copy of the presentation here for everybody to have. That's it.
I have several points I need to discuss.
Sister.
Number one, at our last district meeting, I had asked the question if you were going to provide us copies of the presentation prior to getting, and I responded to Tricia's email saying, giving me this information after the fact is mute, because I have made issues with it simply because this is a representation of yourself, not this district, because there's a whole bunch of other information I think that was pertinent that needed to be reflected in a testimony that would support the presentation of the numbers that we agreed to here. My second issue is the fact that what was submitted to the Senate as the budget is not what this board approved. This board approved a budget for $325,000 and the date was August 7th. What you provided to the Senate, and I don't know how these numbers changed by $152,000, a number of $477,000. I reviewed both documents. I know what we discussed here and what was approved on August 7th. And this is a total misrepresentation of what was submitted to the legislature. So I need to know how that came about. Those are two of my that's on how many others.
If you will make that my representation, keep it as that. But that's what I presented to the chairman of the board. Mr. Williams, I am not here to argue with nobody. I have been on this board and I have never received no pre-presentation of any budget to the legislature. Everybody here have that in the document. I have never been to a meeting and nobody gave me a copy. I'm saying it will be prepared, it was delivered, and if you weren't present to meet, if you weren't here, I can't trump nobody. But if we increase funding, because what we need to do, we need to improve and increase the funding. I gave information to Ms. Johnson to increase those figures, and they're there in the budget. There wasn't nothing there that represents anything to me individually. So I don't want us to believe, nobody here believing, that I overestimate or submit or undersubmit it. But the fact is, we discuss these things, the questions that are raised when we're here, the concerns that I know have to take place. We are in the building here. We have to comply with some ADA compliance and the consent decree. And when I look at what is needed, the funding of those areas do not sufficient. So as the chairman of the person, I increase it. So if the government don't want to approve it, that's on them. If the legislature don't want to, that's on them. But that is a representation of what we need to function as a district board.
But again, that is not my point. My point is that the purpose of a board is to develop consensus. And what the board agreed to by motion was this budget of $325,000.
And it wasn't sufficient.
Slow down, members, Brian. What the board approved is what I'm talking about. I'm not speaking to what you think or what you think we need to add. You know, that is pride, as far as I'm concerned. For you to submit. But I'm just simply saying that if this board as a consensus approves one budget, how do you say you're submitting to the legislature something else?
Because the Bourgeois code tells us that the board, not the budget office,
the budget.
So what we have in front of us, Mr. Williams, is the OMB suggesting what our money will be. We must decide what we want, not nobody won't be. Ms. Morris or Ms. Godley can tell us what we need as a budget when the law says we submit our budget to the legislature, not the OMB. It's written in the law.
I'm not disputing any of that.
So
That's not my argument.
Are you saying we get too much money?
No. My argument is that what the board approved. That's what I'm saying. You going on with the OMB and the governor. I'm not speaking about what the governor sent down. I'm speaking to what this board approved. And this is not what this board, change it out, you don't submit it.
Well, if it's fraud, we need to correct it. If you want to,
Mr. Chair, come on.
Playing games.
Could you explain to Mr. Williams and Oliver, where will the increase?
I see that.
he said it already, he just want to waste that talking.
I don't want to waste any time.
He wants to accuse me of committing fraud because he
Yes,
spoke.
yes. I don't want to waste any time.
But you tell me that committed fraud, I increased beyond what I submitted. So if it's
Absolutely.
beyond what I submitted, we wasting time for. All you need to do is make a motion to withdraw it from the legislation and put the one you think I want.
Whether a person disagrees with what somebody else is saying on this board is irrelevant, whether it's you disagreeing or you disagreeing. Everybody in here has the right to make whatever point they want to make. Once they make it, they made it, and we can move on. If we're going to correct it, if we think it should be corrected, it should be corrected, but you can't stop somebody from expressing their opinion, whether we agree with it or not. That's why the board has a meeting to discuss whatever. So whether or not, you agree with his representation it was fraud or his representation that it was your budget as opposed to this budget, he's made his point and we need to move on with however one he wants to address it or the rest of the
What
board.
you see, Ms. Mohammed, the word fraud is a charge in criminal offense.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yes, and then when,
And it's okay when
do
you're
it somewhere.
accused of fraud and it was
Well, I know what she got to do it.
But whatever you like, whether you like the use of the word or not, my point is that everybody here has the right to express their opinion. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, you can put your disagreement on the record, but to go back and forth is a waste of time. You can't characterize somebody putting their feelings on the record as a waste of time, because then we could all do that.
I have a question. But anyway, if you feel it's fraud, just go and make a police report, have the police come and make an investigation, let's charge me with fraud. But I stand by what I submitted to the Board of Election in best interest. So, I don't argue over those words, criminally charging people, making comments. I could make a lot of criminal charges. But I'm not going to, let us stick to the Inspector General report and then we'll see what they say. That's what we need to pay attention to.
You know
No,
the size of,
Mr. Russell is kind of.
I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm
Russell.
next.
Go ahead, Mr. Russell.
Well, again, my concern,
Oh, sorry.
my concern with the action taken is again, that it was not done inconsistent with law. If the board had approved a budget and you in your wisdom wanted to increase it, change it, or modify it, and present it to this community as the budget of this board, then it needed to come back to the board and let us vote on it.
Yeah.
We can't, all of us can't go out there and represent the board as individuals.
But that's the
We gotta meet and reach a consensus.
You know something?
Now, but wait a minute. Now, let me just jump in here for 1 second. I heard what Mr. Ross just said, but then 2 minutes ago, people were saying we should respond to this individually, which I think is crazy. Because, number one, none of us, even the people who have been here from, Methuselah times, have any control over what the supervisor of election did with any money and until this audit, had no clue as to what funds were used or misused or anything else. So there's no way anybody could intelligently respond to this as an individual. Because most of us weren't here in 2002. Maybe, I don't even know if these two gentlemen were, because I don't know when their term started. I came on the board in 2008, so I couldn't speak to anything prior to 2008. And other than relying on the supervisor's reports, which were never questioned in great detail, which could be a fault to the board, I don't have any individual knowledge. So to say on the one hand, the board works as a group, but then we're going to answer this individually, I think is inconsistent, and I think we're just scattershot.
But if I may, Madam Mohammed, Mr. Ross, I've been here from 2011. I have correspondence and appeals. I have been writing to Ms. Wells, the chairman and joint chairman of the board, for reports from the supervisor of elections sit here, and he started coming to the meetings, and up to now, I have not been provided with a response on those reports. The record speaks for itself. I'm saying, let me finish please. I'm saying, if a supervisor is our employee, and we don't question, like I've been questioning when Mr. Abrams told us one day, he went to Catholic school, I went to the school, he said that, I remember him saying it. So he was implying, and we said again, there is nobody on the board, including the board members, knows more about Title 18 than he just did. He said that right in here. If I check them things, he said so. He's telling our life, only he knew he was doing. And then again, the law required, and the interest fund was created, and the special fund was created, and other funds that he report to us. The reports have never come to me. I keep asking Mr. Ross and everything. He said you'll get them in time, and never gotten them up to today. Sometimes for us to sit here and say we don't know what they're talking about in the report. I have the correspondence, I received response from Ms. Wells of the interest fund and all this.
Nothing you said has changed anything I said, because even though you requested this stuff, you didn't get the
I'm
information.
going to stop
Wait a
getting
minute,
the
listen,
report.
can I make my point? Did you get the information? You're saying no, right?
No, from Mr. Ross who provided to
Okay,
tell him.
from whoever, I don't care from whoever. If you didn't get the information, then you don't have the information to answer this.
Oh, no? You think so?
Well,
What I answer, you see what I know. Let's go.
okay, well, I don't, so you respond to it.
Because I know been in meetings many times, asking Mr. Abelson many times for information. I asked Mr. Ross for them, and I never got them. So who responsible to the board? I can't run the board if we don't have a majority of the board to make Mr. Abelson provide the information. So the majority of the board didn't make our employee supervisor Abelson or anybody, whether Ms. Classic or Mr. Weber or anybody provide information, then the majority of the board.
fact that nobody sitting here has the information. My point is only, with whatever history you want to make circles around, my point is only that none of us here have the information, whether it was our duty to get it.
It was
whether
duty.
I didn't say it wasn't. What I said was we don't have it. The point is we don't have it. You cannot intelligently answer this except to say we don't have the information to respond to it.
Let's go ahead. Let's move on from here. I'll hear you. Excuse me, they need to keep quiet in the back. I'm saying to you, Ms. Moses, if we sit here as a board and don't monitor our employees, you see how quick Mr. Raspberry that I shouldn't go as a board voted for me to go to New York or to go to Savannah? He, that same code in hand before me, all I had before me. I am telling you, the law requires things to happen and nobody did anything majority of the
disagreeing
board.
with you. How do you not see that I'm not disagreeing with you? What I'm saying is the bottom line is whoever questioned didn't get it, didn't question, still didn't get it. The bottom line is we didn't get it.
So you're saying then that the board, the majority allowed Mr. Abrams and everybody vote to do what they want?
You color it however you
But
want.
that's what
What
it
I'm
says.
saying is we don't have the information. My only point is we don't have the information to intelligently. You can sit here and look through here and where they're talking about what monies were spent or not spent contradicted without other information. I don't know how that's possible.
The information narrated is clear in here, except that Mr. Abrams, nobody's computer.
Okay. Well, I have never seen the information, so I, for one, will
Well, then we'll move on, because
replying
we are
as an
getting on to-
individual, because we should be replying as a board. You're
If the board don't know what the board will reply.
to say that we
I can
have
tell you what I
information
know.
adequate.
You can tell you what you don't know, what you know. I cannot speak for no board member. I can only speak for board, Brian as a board
Okay,
member,
well, let's
what
try
I
to be
saw, what I have
consistent.
saw.
We're either a board or we're a group of individuals doing stuff as we want to.
Well, let's see what happens. Anyway, you can move on, please. We are here now on the number 5 item on the deputy supervisor, the recommendation, election, since we agreed at the joint board meeting that upon the recommendation of the supervisor election, we select the deputy supervisor. And I think that we have already done that, and we have a motion. We can ask Mr. Delado to read, or me to read a motion so we can move on.
Before you make the motion,
Executive session.
we had advertised an executive session to begin with, but that's the determination. But before you make, what recommendation is she making?
I just read what I said.
No, you said she's gonna make a recommendation. I didn't hear a
We,
recommendation.
at the last joint board meeting,
Yes, no, hear me clearly, hear me clearly. I'm asking the question. The supervisor did not make a recommendation to the board at any point in time. So
but
how?
she right there, well, let me finish. You
How-
see, I want to run the meeting.
No, but you can't.
But that's what I'm trying to do.
Or recommendation is the only point he's making, so.
Well, let me finish what I'm saying.
I understand that Ms. Fox made the two recommendations, but because she was not in a position, they were not accepted. So maybe she can make it now and I make the motion.
And maybe we should do that
I
in a.
When we
said
need the executive
that's
session to talk about
executive
this,
session.
right?
Excuse me?
When you need the executive session to talk about the selectors of it.
Because it's an employment issue.
And?
Employment issues are discussed in
But that was
executive session.
discussed
You wanna
before.
change
It was discussed in St. Thomas. The term is
The
supervising
choice
election.
wasn't discussed in St. Thomas, the procedure was discussed.
I want to dictate how the
I'm not
procedure should be
dictating
done.
anything, do what you want.
Well, I'm asking Ms. O'Neill to make a motion to take
And I have it right here, executive session, because the same way you do for personal actions, I'm an HR person, and it's personal action. So if I recommend someone to you, it's not public information. There's other folks that apply, and you cause problem. If you select somebody I didn't recommend, then I have to work with that person. It's an executive session discussion. We go to executive session and you decide who you're gonna nominate, then when you come out, you go to the public and you nominate. Same thing you did with my selection.
Except that the executive session, regardless of who you pick, is they will come here members of association. They haven't already. It's 11 people in St. Thomas. No, you know, okay, I don't remember what I did. It's 11 people in St. Thomas voted for supervising election. And it wasn't an executive session. It was after recommendation came from the interview committee. That's what happened in St. Thomas.
You still have to follow a procedure, you either do or you don't.
Well, I move that we go into
Point of
executive.
clarification,
Let's go, we're going to executive session.
I move that we go into
Move in
executive
executive
session.
session, let's go.
Then 15 minutes.
Let's go, we're going to take 15 minutes in the executive session. Can I even think of that about? Just give these people one to delay the one person here.
Chairman, you raising it as a session without a vote.
I don't need a vote to send executive, I don't send executive session what I want and things, you know. 2014, we will be in need of a vehicle to supply and handle the being used. And we gathered at the election system meeting in Savannah, Georgia. Both of those areas have a van that is what they call a RAP. So the people who are examined in Troy can see that we have a vehicle officially as a vehicle for the voting system. We will have to transport maybe one or two machines if we go to demonstrations, whether it's the school, hospitals, organizations, legislature, along with the equipment. We do that we have right now, that's official, so therefore we need to address that. That will be a part of the recommendation for us to have such vehicle election events really. Basically that's what that item 7 is all about. Do we have any discussion, objection, question about it?
Input. Our budget proposal for the Senate supports the funding for the window van.
That is correct, that's what it is.
So, we're asking the board to approve the purchase prior to the budget adoption or subject to the budget adoption. What is the chair's?
Is it prior to the budget suggested or adoption?
Are you asking the board to approve the purchase of a van prior to the budget being adopted or subject to the budget being adopted? Because my question right for you is that we don't have the money now to purchase
No, sir.
it, so we have to get the authorization. We got to get the money to do it.
Right.
So what are you asking the board to do today as it relates?
Well, basically, we're recognizing the need for the vehicle. That is where we increase the amount in the budget to address that concern, because we have to have those things in place. So when the finance committee submit the budget that we submitted with the increase from the 300,000 to 400 and whatever it is, if we get that money in our lump sum budget, we'll be able to acquire that vehicle along with other necessities to move the machine around or machines around along with the voting station, because as it is right now, we have to establish rules and regulations for the GS200 as was mentioned by the supervisor. So therefore, for us to take the machine around, we need to have the vehicle that can hold the machines, the personnel to transport it around and move it around, because one person cannot fix up the machine. So therefore, to move it around, we need the van, and that's why it was included in the amount. So in addition to that, that vehicle can be used to transport members in the St. Thomas St. John district or people coming with a machine, rather than for us to rely on property and procurement when they feel like to provide a van to help us.
Again, I understand the rationale. I'm just trying to determine what it is you're doing today.
Well, we discussed it.
We're discussing it.
Yes, sir. After the
So-
fact that it was included. Because we did not have a meeting scheduled to do that.
I understand. So that if the legislation, if our budget becomes law, then it is your intention for us to come back and then approve the
Acquisition,
specifics,
yes, sir.
the specifics as relates to, I understand.
Well, that's what it is, because I'm saying we have letterheads for not food, but we don't have an official vehicle like in other places to outline or what they call a wrap. Like when you see the Agile got there or thing wrap, or ABC joints just have a wrap. We need to have a wrap vehicle in the ordinance, particularly when we speak for St. Croix, amongst other things, not to only transport members from the board and employees to come to St. Croix meeting, but to also be demonstrating and traveling. We can have the people in the city, oh, that's the voter registration vehicle, that's the voter machine coming, that's the place where you can see that advertisement.
I have no problem.
Billboard and ways, basically.
I understand the intent, I just want to know what is done today.
Yes,
So
sir.
basically, you just basically share the information
Yes,
with
sir.
us, so that when money becomes available, we
Yes, sir.
will approve the project. As I said earlier, I have to travel. And I recognize that once I leave, the quorum may become an issue. Is there anything else you want to discuss? Because I have about 5 more minutes.
Well, our next district board meeting October 2nd, and I've been hearing about the joint board meeting. I haven't seen the agenda or the announcement on it. And I think they were mentioning they're going to have a joint board meeting over intercom, and I don't see our rules and regulations provide for us to take action on camera rather than being present at the joint board meeting. So I don't know how that's going to work out.
So the joint board meeting for tomorrow is not on?
I haven't seen an agenda or I haven't seen any announcement. So I don't know who's saying what we're about.
Tomorrow, is the joint board meeting scheduled for tomorrow?
She had trouble 3 days, but I don't think she officially got BTC, but she had 3 days. So did they hear anything this week? And maybe next week. We'll check in on.
And as a member of the executive committee, I haven't been told anything. Ms. Mohammed is also a member of vice chair of the joint, and she hasn't mentioned anything. So as far as I'm concerned, there is no joint board meeting scheduled until we receive an official announcement from the chairman or chairperson rather, of the joint board.
So that, Mr. Chairman, permission to leave.
Thank you, Mr. Ross, and we enjoy the heated debate, but we still have to accomplish other things, whether we agree in the same time, same person. So I don't have no.
I appreciate the comment.
Basically, this ain't our work, we will always be here together. So, whatever happens, when the parents come, keep quiet, no challenge, there will be no success in anything.
And your boss, I'm still waiting for her.
So we finish our agenda, and
But we have
we
questions.
have 10 minutes from the audience, question and answer. I want to make it clear, no members in the back. None of the members are obligated to remain to hear concerns or questions. So don't be upset if they leave. Mr. Williams, Mr. Ross said he has to go to get a flight. Ms. Mohammed already said she has to appointment. We will obtain your concerns. We should be the front door. Before you go to tell us, please.
I can't say, you can't say.
You want to come and sit up? Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry.
What are you talking about?
Excuse me. So how are you, Mr. Williams? Thank you.
Don't turn around.
Don't come around.
Mr. Williams, I'm waiting for your call.
Yeah. Okay, no problem, okay, no problem.
So anybody have any questions or comments?
That's your secretary.
Yeah, you could. Receive.
Yes, I have a few, and it's basically yes or no. I have a few questions, they're basically yes or no answers. Are the tally sheets for the 2012?
Hold on, please. The what?
Are the tally sheets for the 2012 election?
Hello, please. Will you hold the nice down outside, please? Or
Hello?
close the doors?
Close the door if you're outside.
Close the door.
Thank you, sir.
I want to hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Are the tally sheets for the 2012 election considered public documents?
Yes, yeah. And they are available here in St. Croix. I can't tap this in town's name.
I'm just
That's what we
asking
say.
for
Go ahead.
here.
Okay, go.
I'm just talking to St. Croix. Did you receive the request that I put in writing dated August 21st to view those tally sheets?
I saw it yet, I responded to Mrs. McGrath. She sent one, and when she sent her letter, we didn't have a supervisor election on board, and now we have one, then we can make arrangements for supervisor election, so we can find it very good.
Okay. So I can, at this point then, since I have put my request in, and they are public documents, I can view those.
Not right now, the supervisor election, you can agree on a date.
Yes,
where
but I
you
just
begin
wanted to
until-
get that
You need to
clear.
respond to her in writing to tell her when and what she can do. So we get together and get back to you.
Okay.
You need to respond and request things to the district.
Let's go.
Another question, who subtotals the tally, the precinct tallies? Like if you have a precinct over here at one elementary and you have another, who tallies the grand total?
The members of the board, the election district was here. I was of this side. And recall they were opening the various cartoons, counting, there were about 4 or 5 individuals counting paper ballots and making reference to what was done inside with Mr. Machuli on the tabulation election day. Those documents are here in the building. I
So-
haven't removed them or opened them in the shred.
Okay, so it is the board though who takes all those sub-tallies and puts them on the grand tally sheet.
Because the way the law was amended, it authorized the board, the district board, to supervise the results. It didn't say that I must come, it said supervise.
Exactly.
And basically, I was telling the members here, when I was sitting here, the law didn't say you have to come, the law says supervise. Meaning, that if Ms. O'Neill and Ms. Fox had a difference in a vote, would then the board president say, well, that is not a vote, but that is a valid vote. But instead, it took the board members to count everything and to verify and certify everything that came with the machine. I don't know, I can't speak what happened in September, but that's what was done here.
Okay, and then one last request, this happened outside the meeting while you were in executive session.
What happened?
Ms. Fiona Stokes referred to me, not solely, as the fucking peanut gallery. And if we're gonna have somebody in this building representing what the people want, and we wanna be here, and we wanna see what's going on, she doesn't need to be here.
Well, what I can do for the council, if you have witnesses, what Ms. Fiona Stokes referred to you as, Mrs.
It wasn't me
Fiona,
alone.
I'm saying, please. Ms. Fiona Stokes is an employee of a printed media. You can address your complaint in writing, the way she works, give her a copy, and let your witnesses to hear what she says, and maybe they could deal with Stokes. If she mentioned it in here, what we could have heard, what she was saying, then it's a different scenario. What happened outside when we were in executive session, I don't know for confirm, but because one time, Mr. Dutton, James, cursed a lot of sanity. The news officer right here, and put my name as a person. So I can't do the same thing to you or Ms. Stokes when I didn't need.
Okay, but I can take care of it myself
Yes, ma'am.
then. And I guess that was the end of my questions. Oh, one more, I'm sorry. When I turn in these request forms that are issued by the board for examination and copy of records, can we get it to where the office person who takes that and timestamps it, can they sign it so we know we have a paper trail to who we left that with?
The document is in seal custody. Those boxes are there. Nobody.
No, she don't have a request when she came in to
One of
request.
these.
Oh, that?
Get the information. So I take a note of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
We wouldn't deny that you bring it in. Naturally, I can't speak to another board. But this board and this supervisor election with the background and make sure that we know who bring it when and what they receive. So that is, I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
Any other question or concern?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to commend you for the way you run the meeting. It is good that we, the audience, come here often. We have been coming for the past, or maybe most of us here have been coming for the past 3 years. So the things that you were pointing out as to how meetings were conducted and decisions were made, we can witness to some of the things that you said. So we also have, I have the agendas of every meeting, except for maybe about 2. Okay, so we know what decisions were made, what the decision with regards to drafting. So we, as the audience, have your back.
Well, I was saying, thank you. I don't have a problem with the board, with a quorum present, voting for any member to travel to any assignment related to election system, voter registration, anything. I know I sat into all the meetings, and I've never been present, and I never leave a meeting before it's adjourned. That's me. From the legislature, this lady can tell you, I don't leave meetings and go when they get recess. They have to adjourn the session for board members to meet. If there's a session going late, she can tell you, I stay over and calm and whatever. So we run away, I ain't coming home. I don't leave a session until it's adjourned. And that's what happened the last time when they picked Mr. Benjamin as the acting deputy supervisor / admin. There never was a vote or quorum present. They adjourned the meeting and Mr. Watkins sat right here. And I said, no, I ain't vote for nobody. He said, oh, reconvene the meeting. Nobody said anything about it. How are you going to reconvene a joint meeting without an agenda? And everybody let it go. Mr. Graham wrote Mr. Ross as the chairman of the Joint Board and chairman of St. Croix District. He wrote Jack Abrams since February 2000. He wrote Sharon Benjamin as the acting supervisor of election March 20, 2013. And he wrote Ms. Alicia Walls and he wrote Andrew Watt. None of them wrote Adele Board Brown, the chairman of St. Croix District. All those documents are there. I don't know if I forget it. Mr. Ross sat right there when I told him about the letter. He said he wanted to see my copy about his letter to him. I have it. It's right here. And he knew they wrote him. But what they were doing is delaying the process with OMB office to make a budget for this board. And my position was this board is going to follow up, present a budget for the board of election. Nobody will be having authority over our budget. And that's what we've been getting spoon feed. Every month they give you a lot, and and that's why Mr. O'Neill and other people who wanted to attend the conferences available at only as February this year. They had no, because it was discussed right here. Ms. Johnson was right here when Mr. O'Neill, Lisa Moorhead, and this young man he said he wanted to go. Ms. Moorhead said she don't need them to pay for transportation or something because she would like to pay for a registration. Let us take, let us forget, meaning or taping. She sat there, and at the last minute when Ms. Johnson said she was waiting to get an allotment from finance to determine if these members could have traveled. It was too late to get their money. I went ahead and paid ceremony all for $550 to Savannah. When I reached up there, they didn't even get my receipt. This is right there. But I've been there. I know. I've been to all these meetings, and I know how the motion goes. One meeting they had in St. Thomas of the Joint Board to approve the authorization for the district board to pay to the Attorney McCain. And only because in a meeting right here, I told them, you all can't vote to pay Mr. McCain without the Joint Board. I know the same section. I know he was started, but I wanted to find it because that same book been here then. I know what section he was speaking about. But I purposely acted ignorance, so if he teach me something, he knew it been there. So the Joint Board of Election authorized this board to use transportation money to pay Mr. McCain. And up to now, no, I didn't ask about Mr. McCain paying. Because Ms. Moorhead sat here and said she had been working with Attorney Evangelista and the government is going to find the funding to pay McCain. I just forget too quickly. I don't keep those 9 notes in my head. But I know that's what happened, so I'm not going to get any back and forth. So if he has a story about how it happened, I have my story. But if you accuse me of committing a fraud and a budget presentation, that money is not for me and Jeremiah, my friends. That was for this board. So if they can say what they want, I can get out the hand sometime and say what I want to. But I'm not here for that purpose. But I'm saying, they felt that they wanted to hold this board hostage because this gentleman here was in the lieutenant governor's office. You see what I'm saying? So they wanted this board to subordinate its authority for the preparation of the budget to OMB. OMB in control of this board. She's the executive employee. The board's last say so. The Attorney General wrote Mr. Abrams 3 years ago and tell them that. He wrote Ms. Governor 2 years ago and tell them the same thing. So why am I subordinating my position as the chairman of the board to make the presentation, even though they didn't write me? If that's the case, Mr. Ross, as chairman and joint chairman, would have submitted that budget because it's he that right. So he didn't prepare none. So what I did, I prepared one to the best interest of the people as the chairman. They can find no letter from the budget or from the commissioner of finance or from the chairman of the committee on finance to Adele Bragg, chairman of the St. Croix. I'm sure everybody remember Mr. Ross, Ms. Moorhead and Raymond Williams presented to Ms. Capehart committee that Mr. Abrams was coming to work while he was out sick and making decisions in the office. I never seen him here. So how they could tell her that they didn't know what John Everson was doing? You see what I'm saying? They said that. I got the transcript of it being said. They said that he comes in here. Even though he's out on vacation, he still is in a position. Mr. Everson had the computers and all the documents, and he turned them in May 31st to Ms. Johnson. The computer, laptop, the check stub for the interest fund. They knew he had it. I asked for those reports. They never gave it to me. We were waiting for Ms. Johnson to get authorization because Ms. Johnson is not a certifying officer. That was the job of the deputy supervisor, Mr. Weber. And in the absence of Mr. Weber, Ms. McGrath, and John Abramson, they claimed that the main Mr. Sharon Benjamin, that person to certify. When we were waiting for payment for St. Croix, Mr. Abrams had already told them, they forget, that when he was out, he paid the bills for water, electricity, and rent. Up to the end of June, he said that. So then, if that was to the end of June, who certifies the document? Other than Ms. Benjamin. When I checked the record, Ms. Benjamin was already signatory on the interest fund for all accounts of the board of election. May 30th, I have the card. I've been in the police department, I'm not fooling shit they're telling me here. So for them to tell Ms. Johnson that she can wait until they get this information from finance, what's her name? Godly wrote a letter under the signature of Mrs. Farrington outlining the interest fund, the money that were expended, the HAMA money, the balances. They have it because I circulated it to every member. Every member of this board received the cover letter. You remember the letter was passed in? They know. So they can say they don't know. But they can attack me because they can attack. But they know what they're talking about. I can't respond to nobody here respond. They are the ones supposed to respond. If they want to send it to the government to save them, send it to him. They want to keep it and don't respond to time with them. But I am not going to hold a report that addresses the board. I think it's for me and Jerry, or my child and my friend. It's for the board's function. Joint board, district board, all of them been here. It's far from 2002 to 2013. So I've been coming here, if you look, and every official agenda you got, all business same. No supervisor election, no deputy supervisor final. They don't bring them. I never seen them. But I had no way of investigating what's going on. Because when the investigators came here, Mr. Abrams and I had the boxes started out and I I mean, we going to play this stupid game with me, but I don't stay here and argue back and forth. If you want to make me the villain, fine. But then the documents speak for themselves. I asked Ms. Wells from last year to get another signature on the interest fund. She told me it's not necessary because the legal counsel said you don't need it. Who's the legal counsel? An attorney general from the executive branch, Ms. Salisbury. You ever seen the hearing of the system here? No. Again, in the Frederick State hearing with Cape Park, Mr. Graham, he read the fact. He asked them, how is it only one person signing the interest fund? They respond from Ms. Wells and Mr. Ross, the law said he must sign. But the law don't say they cannot have an added signature, and nobody answered. So how you could tell me you don't know? They have gone I can't answer for them. So don't try to pin me no corner and call me no villain for committing fraud. And I don't respond in kind appropriately, but I can only take the same agenda and send it to Inspector John if I want to do that. But then don't let me say committed fraud against the board because they increase the finances of the board to function. So if they want it reduced or remain what they are saying that they're willing to stagnate the function of the district of St. Clair Board to do the same functions as what they're doing in this town. That's how they're doing. When we went to the legislature, Ms. O'Neill was there, Ms. Fox was there. They were trying to ask Ms. Fox to respond to what Lisa Wells and Sharon Benjamin prepared and put it in the right thing. And they had a clerk read Ms. Wells' opinion. This was in St. Thomas Hall in St. John. So how she could be here convening and choosing to come to the budget on 2 occasions. July 24th, she just was out of the territory, she not available. She came back and was at the radio station. When Mr. Graham sent out a notice that had been changed on the 24th to the 28th, I guess, by the 25th, Sharon Benjamin wrote a letter to the finance chair that she is not the supervisor of election, that is the responsibility of the supervisor of election and not technical. I remember the writing. They said that the letter she had got in my hand. So how hard I was starting though? She is not that person to submit the majority. But Ms. Wells had an email telling her she Benjamin and wanted them to pay the budget along with OMB. And how could this lady just come on board, waiting for a number from all in July, respond and present something? That's hypocrisy. That is fraud. And I know that. I remember the saying all the time. Me gonna take no notes. But that's what happened when the news don't want to register it. They get ready where they want. That's their story. So I'm not going back and forth with this foolish thing. So I'm saying the record speaks for itself. I only know what I can find. So thank you for your time. Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning. I would like to say welcome, Mrs. Fox.
Thank you very much.
Sit here and you give a little report like a breath of fresh air. I've been coming in here 2 years and never hear the table sit here and give a report, and if you one time you do, eat like showing what you seem to be. I don't know you, you're real professional. I enjoyed the little presentation from it. It was so comprehensive. I said, what this video all the time? So cool and calm. What you wrote in this, I appreciate that. Welcome. And I like my name is O'Neill, I've been a strong lady before. I think we're going to move on.
Yes.
We're going to move on. But we have people have our concern. When they're wrong, we'll accept the wrong. When they're right, we move on. But we had some of them here. What he said about following the Constitution, fine. I don't have a problem, but shows it on the other foot. All these things Mr. Ross particular asked, this gentleman, I dealt with for over 2 to 3 years. And the beating, when the phone get to beating down, the break core, and corner them with question and point, in order not to think the break core. That's what they were doing all the time. We showed it on the other foot, but I agree that we must do things. The book said do that, we do it. That is what gone boy, but same people who want this to be concrete, the same people who are doing the same wrong when it should have been right.
You know something to what you just said?
Welcome again.
Thank you very much.
Let's say so you mentioned. I was asked to Mr. Ross, Mr. Abelson right when he was ex-crash about certain authorization to reimburse certain individuals travel.
Yeah.
I never get a response. I had no the last set. And when I get the last, he would look and ask the AG salary, she would smile. She don't answer. And he would tell her not to answer my question, and she said that smile. She don't answer question, and she don't come to the meeting here. She go to the joint board meeting. I'm saying, the same statute that he was fumbling to find. I had no one was asking those same questions he tried to imply today that we shouldn't pay, remember, Shaman Bryan to go to Savannah when they had no, he was there. Because Ms. Johnson gave us the information from us August, February. Ms. O'Neill, Webster, Moindo, they said what I said would have gone to as a chairperson. It was the last minute that we found out from Johnson that they had to wait for the allotment from finance because they gave it monthly. So I said, this is like giving me allowance. So the fact that I wrote that in this presentation to the budget hearing, the first people, but that's the fact. How can you have an independent agency waiting till an executive department head give you allowance to function?
And an elected one. That's the difference.
See, that's what's wrong.
between us and other.
The whole thing is that for the past years, the Board of Election and Election System have been functioning as an executive department under the wishes of control of the governor and the elected officials in it. This board is elected board, and I know what the law said because even recently, Mr. Fraser, the Attorney General, agreed with what I was saying when he wrote Mr. Abramson and Mr. Godfrey. I didn't write his, I know lie, but I could read the law and understand. So when Mr. Ross was making a comment about the board approving travel, I had noticed the same thing I was showing him all the time when they were going up and down. So I don't have no problem with that. That's why I said, take a vote, yes or no, keep the money. I can't spend it great, but nobody in here today, if you deal with $1 million, you just better off without 10 cents. So you can't pay no rent, no food, no food, you're right in there. So I don't care about the money. But I'm saying, let's test you to see how fair you want to be. And I proved it by the point that I went ahead and inspection advised me, you know something, I don't want to get caught up in this situation. I don't want to destroy this young lady. Because I know this lady when she was a child, she was a Paulson friend of mine. I know her parents working hard in the laundry riding up my sickle. That's all I know. I've seen them on the place. But I must pick a person with my conscience and experience and willing to represent everybody. She don't have to get between a few. She should back us a job because we are employed. But she's not going to sit there and say, well, you're right because you hired me. I don't see it that way. If you're wrong, I think she would tell me I'm wrong. So that's how I see the whole thing. If we had done what we said from in March when Mr. Weber left, we would have been much prouder to do because on 3 occasions I asked Ms. Wells as the joint chair to convene a meeting to select a supervisor election. It came up one time, and the broke before Mr. Harry Daniel went downstairs in McDonald's eating her dad. We come back again, Ms. Lydia Hendricks, she kept asking questions until I told me Salisbury fumbled reading some code. I said, find it in the code. She can't find it. By that time, Mr. Daniels had got up and went downstairs and stayed behind his breakfast. After that, we came back again. And Ms. Wells said, meeting at John because we don't have a book. But Mr. Daniel was in there, the bush was already on the floor. He took up his keys and went. So I don't know what kind of game he was to play. But Ms. Wells, Ms. Hendricks, a school teacher and administrator and guidance counselor, right to the teacher says, if I was one of these employees, I wouldn't show one damn thing. But the whole foolish ago. 11 of us was there, and I will vote for her again. If it was smart, one election already, another person name for the supervisor election, so each of them could have claimed that I didn't vote for her. But the players wrong, but I didn't vote for the lady. So they wanted us back. Yes, you saw.
I believe during Mrs. Fox's presentation, she mentioned that she had received word from the Senate that they were going to. She received word from the Senate they were moving forward on some of the reforms.
No, they were called us for a meeting in October.
Okay.
Senate President.
The reason why it struck me was I believe it was in July. The district board here had some conversation about the election reform committee, and that they hadn't met or they hadn't made enough progress, and you voted to ask Ms. Wells to instruct them to meet. Did you ever receive word back on that? Do you know if they met?
I haven't received any. I haven't received any. I don't know if instructions.
Okay, so you don't know if they've issued a report to the Senate and that's what they're. Okay.
They're based on the one they had before. They had 2010, something was submitted, 2011, something was submitted.
Okay.
So now that's why I'm telling the board, so we can get together to have our stuff ready for October, so we can have the reforms to present, because you don't want to get caught 6 months before the election, and then they say they can't change the law.
Right.
They end up going with the same law again, the 2014 election. So again, every month goes by, you got Christmas, you got holidays, so you gotta take these time out, you know, deduct those time from the month, and you don't have a lot of time.
Am I safe to assume that this is going to include the military and overseas?
Yes,
everything, yes.
But, excuse me, who is the chairman of the committee?
First he wanted to the whole, he's gonna be, you gotta go back to K-Pod, is the chairman of the committee that runs us, but again, the
No,
goal
the
is
chairman
Here,
of the
here.
election here, because I know that Ms. Wells did assign a chairman for that committee.
Oh, I'm not sure the name.
Raymond, chairman for the reform.
You had Mr. Ross, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Mohead, because Mr. Mohead was the one that was here writing up some recommendations the last time for the military overseas voters, along with changing certain days of primary registration and cancellation. She had the paper right here. But what happened with Mr. Watlett that submitted a little piece of thing, call it the changes, not in compliance with everything. So those things have to be changed, and they need the election reform committee to address it. I am not an election reform committee, but certain recommendations were made as late as 2011, and the legislature never really acted on them. So now since they have the consent decree, that is where the legislature have to change, because we can't change it, we can only make the recommendations to the legislature for them to comply.
If you mind, just two.
No, go ahead.
Two small questions. I know that there's the law that you have to do it within 6 months of the election, or else they say that it won't apply to that election.
Except a court of jurisdiction, part of it.
Is that 6 months from the primaries, or is that 6 months from the general election?
It has to be from election. When the election starts, primary is part of election. I'm saying the general election, under the statute, under subsection 6 outline, unless it is by a court order, you have to do it within 6 months, before 6 months of the general election. So anything after that 6 months of the general election, the court have to order a change. An example, if the Board of Election system cancels 3,000 registered voters for whatever reason it was, only the legislature can reinstate those 3,000 voters whose election status was cancelled. The Board of Election can't do that on their own. So they just statute within the subsection 6 lines out of 6.
Okay. And one last thing, just bookkeeping. Can you spell Genevieve Whitaker's name? So you're right.
It's a G-E-N-I-V-I-E-D-E somewhere, right? That's the name. Genevieve.
She's on Facebook.
Genevieve. It spells just like how it sounds. But what the guy is WHITAT, something like that. Well, if you get right correct spelling, when we leave the outside, what we have it here, you will get in for spelling, we can get it outside. But I just want to make it clear that you have an opportunity to clarify or understand what we're doing earlier, as disruptive as may come. I have to stay here. But I don't have no problem responding. So the election laws have to be complied with. And for knowing any board member or employee have to be involved, the supervisory election runs our finances accordingly. As an employee, we know, and as a board, any one of us have to attend anything related to a meeting outside the territory, because we don't have to vote to go to meetings in Dallas. The joint meeting or vice versa. There's a scheduled meeting here and there, we come to the meeting. So the inconsistency is still there. So I'm saying if we want to go back to the statute of business of 1990, and all these people being the booming levels going on. So if you want to pull up everything now, the same thing happened when we had to talk about the vehicle. It was known that Mr. Evans had to be there all the time. Sooner we decided to get a supervisor or deputy supervisor, Mr. Williams said, that's not a 24-hour vehicle, Mr. Weber was coming. So Mr. Weber had to park it out there, or probably go with his own car. But all the time Mr. Evans had it, he was up and down with it. So soon as Mr. Weber was coming now, he made it clear that that is not a 24-hour vehicle. So now what we're going to do is get a 24-hour authorization for our supervisor election to use the vehicle just as compliant to the other. Because you don't get a driver with people when they're packing them on and put it up and take it out there. She don't get out that attack. And I know that. So we try to make sure that we follow the ladies' lead from the background. We're being playing with that. I don't want none of us here to put the young lady in a jeopardize her career over one of us going someplace and they don't know. So now they know how we went. And then show that we know we're good. I have no problem with that. Yes, ma'am.
I think I missed something. After you come out the executive meeting, we please select the deputy supervisor.
Yes, we did.
Oh, I missed it. Because of science line.
Well, because some people will say, Mr. Williams, he wasn't in here. And I was talking and said, so we still have 4 of us in here. We went ahead and discussed how we're going to proceed. We came in the executive session and there was a motion made. We approved the motion with 5 of us over here. And we selected Ms. Genevieve Whittaker to be recommended to the joint board as the deputy supervisor for the Island District of St. Croix. We cannot here select the St. Thomas, St. John District Board supervisor of the election. They will go through the same process over there as agreed in a joint board meeting that each district, in consultation with the deputy cardinal law, will select a deputy supervisor. However, or providing further, if the joint board don't agree with supervisor elections selection, we can take our own. And that's what happened when they allowed the governor to pick Ms. Maduro in St. Thomas over Ms. Benjamin. And then when they picked Mr. Weber here after going through the process, they wanted to have a quick investigation or nomination after Mr. Abelson wrote the recommendation to the Latin. They don't tell you the truth. We were here, Dr. Njin, myself, I was here. When the motion was made that to select Mr. Weber as the deputy supervisor, Mr. Abrams was sitting right here with the legs crossed and the podium. He said he would recommend that they tweak the criteria selection of another person. Now that was the same criteria he had to select himself in. And he got 8 years on. How much years ago since you elected as supervisor election? 3 or 4, 2. So I'm saying, we have to be fair and consistent. He gave us the recommendation for deputy supervisor election. They had a search committee here, they interviewed everybody. When the committee came up with a nomination, he said he didn't want the one after they selected it. He wanted to tweak the recommendation so that Mr. Weber couldn't get in. We went ahead and voted to hire Mr. Weber instead of what Mr. Evans was saying. It wasn't until months after that they let Mr. Weber came to work when Ms. Traskett was here. If they were really serious about Mr. Weber allowing what he was supposed to do, under the tutelage of Mrs. Plastick, Mr. Weber was still working to Home Depot. So from Home Depot, right here, they could have had Mr. Weber right in here, working side by side with Mrs. Platt. What they did, they waited until Mrs. Platt left, and then brought her back on a contract to pay her to teach Mr. Weber. They don't forget, they don't remember. So who played the game? Yes, ma'am.
Please have some refreshments before you leave the air.
Based on going for the public, the general public meeting, we also go in executive meeting. I would appreciate